Pop culture frequently misinterprets cosmic horror. We are told mythos creatures are indescribable, defying physics and operating through mystical, unknowable forces. But examining the entities from the Shadow Over Innsmouth, the amphibious race known as the Deep Ones, their dread is not born from magic. It is an empirical, terrifyingly deterministic biological system. This species, sometimes classified in modern speculative taxonomy as Grendelonyx innsmouthensis, is anchored firmly in terrestrial biology. Their anatomy, their life cycle, and their reproduction follow strict, observable rules. Treating the text as a biological case study, we map their interspecies mating protocols, the phenotypic expression of gestation, and the statistical anomalies of reproduction. The true dread of Innsmouth relies entirely on the inescapable mathematical certainty of genetic inheritance. The author, H.P. Lovecraft, was deeply obsessed with the contemporary scientific literature of his era. He closely followed emerging studies on heredity and evolutionary biology. During the 1920s and 30s, Western society was gripped by a panic over atavism, the scientific theory that ancestral, primitive traits could reappear in modern populations. This anxiety fueled the rise of eugenics, a pseudoscience dedicated to categorizing human bloodlines to prevent the perceived biological degeneration of society. Lovecraft projected these very real, widely accepted anxieties directly into the lore of the Deep Ones. He weaponized the science of his day. Interspecies miscegenation becomes a monstrous biological override, physically consuming the human genome from the inside out. The mechanics of this biological override begin with a highly specific gendered mating protocol. This Mendelian pedigree chart illustrates the primary genetic vector. The union almost exclusively pairs a female Deep One with a male human. The physiological requirement for this pairing stems from the nature of the Deep Ones themselves. Pure-blooded specimens possess biological immortality. Assuming an adequate food supply, they will grow continuously in mass for their entire existence, eventually reaching the size of small whales. We see parallels to this in terrestrial biology. When a male lion mates with a female tiger, the resulting liger suffers from gigantism because the specific limiting growth genes present in lionesses and male tigers are absent from the pairing. In the Deep One reproductive cycle, the male human and the female Deep One both carry the necessary limiting genes. These genes cap the physical expansion of the hybrid offspring. This is a deliberate evolutionary safety measure. It ensures the hybrid offspring do not suffer catastrophic physical expansion while gestating and maturing on land. The resulting hybrid life cycle relies on deception. At birth, the offspring are phenotypically indistinguishable from baseline humans. Looking at this developmental timeline, we see that the alien genetic payload remains entirely dormant for decades, only activating as the subject approaches middle age. When the xenogene triggers, Stage 1 physical metamorphosis begins. The subject experiences acute alopecia, the cranial structure noticeably narrows, and the nasal bridge flattens. Stage 2 involves dermal and auditory replacement. The skin takes on a rubbery blue-gray hue. The external ears shrink into the skull, and the eyes bulge into a permanently unblinking state as the human optical system is discarded. Finally, in Stage 3, the subject undergoes full respiratory adaptation. Palpable neck folds open into fully functional aquatic gills, completing the condition known as the Innsmouth look. The human form is revealed to be a temporary larval stage for the dominant Deep One genome. These somatic changes are accompanied by a complete neurological rewrite. As the physical metamorphosis progresses, the hybrid's brain chemistry is altered. They experience biologically induced dreams of cyclopean undersea cities like Yanflay. This imprints a behavioral compulsion. The subject develops a hard-coded, overwhelming desire to abandon terrestrial life and migrate directly into the ocean. Free will is systematically erased. Human autonomy is entirely overwritten by a biological imperative to join the aquatic hive. To understand the efficiency of this system, we have to model its failures. While the process appears rigid, analysis of hybrid lineages shows a consistent pattern of statistical deviation. This chart provides a theoretical baseline for the population. In the vast majority of cases, approximately 80, these carriers appear fully human for their entire lives. They function as silent vectors, allowing the alien DNA to pass undetected into wider terrestrial gene pools. This system utilizes its own failures to expand. By discarding unsuccessful physical transformations and relying on invisible carriers, the species ensures its reach extends far beyond the town of Innsmouth. This branching family tree maps the macro-level consequence of the process. A single point of contact generates a multi-generational mathematical contamination of entire coastal populations. This cascading infiltration is a direct reflection of early 20th century eugenic anxieties. It mirrors the fear of the one-drop rule, where the smallest fraction of an external bloodline is viewed as an inevitable contaminant. In The Shadow Over Innsmouth, the narrator does not discover his fate by being bitten by a monster. He discovers it by researching his own genealogical records, tracing his lineage back to the infected populations of Massachusetts. The deep ones operate as a biological allegory for atavistic descent. They embody the specific clinical fear that humanity is fragile, easily corrupted, and highly susceptible to genetic override. We often look to the ocean abyss to find the source of this dread, but the mechanics of the mythos suggest a more intimate location. The final realization is a dormant sequence buried within your own double helix, awaiting its programmed moment of activation.